Neil, it seems like we've got ourselves in some trouble here.
What were we thinking?
I don't know. It seemed like a very nice day when we clicked we're going on this event.
Yeah, I kind of maybe regret that, but you know what? We've dived full into this, Matt, and I think I'm just about ready.
Let's put this in perspective. 72 hours from now, we'll be on the bike.
Great.
Hey, welcome to Gravel Guru here. We are getting ready, Neil and I, to partake in the Kansas Cannonball.
Yeah, 550 miles, multi-day event, something that's new to both of us. I think we came up with this idea on the bike when we were maybe a little bit delirious in the summer heats, and we said, let's do this, man.
Was it kind of that gap in like June and July after Dirty Kansas, before Gravel Worlds, and it's like, we're not training for anything right now.
Yeah, I wasn't training for anything. I didn't have a lot of summer events. I had a pretty busy summer schedule, and so I knew I wanted to do something like this. And Cannonball had been on my radar really for the past year and a half, almost 2 years now. And I said, you know what? I think this would be a good idea, but I'd really like to see if there's somebody else from our area. At the time, I didn't think really a lot of people from our area were going to be doing it. And I thought, let's see if there's somebody from the area that do it. So me and Matt were riding bikes one night, and I mentioned it to you, and you're like, I was kind of thinking the same thing. And
absolutely, we were on the same page with it. I just think it was one of those where neither of us wanted to say anything about it to the other, because when you say something about it, you end up in our position the week of trying to get ready for a 550-mile adventure.
Yeah, I think we're ready to. I mean, there's a lot still ahead of us between now and Friday morning when we roll out. But our bikes are ready. They're loaded up, finally, for some of us. But I think, I've crossed all my T's, dotted all my I's, and I think I'm just about ready to go.
What is your experience in multi-day? Doing like a century one day, turning around doing a century the next day?
Oh, yeah, I have tons of experience. Let me tell you all about it. Yeah, did you hear it?
Yeah, was that all of it?
That was all of it. My most experience, honestly, is getting out and doing like multiple 60-day rides around here. Never event-wise. This is, again, diving in, fresh, new. It is nice that it does start in our backyard.
It's uncharted territory, but we're never more than 2 hours by car from home.
Correct. And so, I'm not super worried about, jumping into this. A lot of the terrain I know as we get out to the western part of the course, the terrain is not the Flint Hills.
Correct.
And so folks that have come down here for Dirty Kansas or other races in the past, you're used to that hard-packed rock. Well, as you get further west in Kansas, it gets a lot sandier.
So you're telling me hard-packed sand?
That'd be great, but we'll see what the sand ends up being like.
Fair enough. I guess my experience with it is back in high school I did bike across Kansas. A couple years ago we did the Katy Trail. I mean, that was 3 or 4 days with several 90 to 100-mile days in it. So, I mean, you do something once a year and you should be ready for something like this, right? Yeah,
I think we'll totally be ready for it. Reality is, it is just riding your bike, and that's the attitude that I think we both tried to take on it. We've got some plans I think that we're going to talk about, but
we've gone out multiple nights after full work days and done 60-plus mile rides, lots of 50s in there. So I think our rationale is, hey, if we can go work a full day at the office and then jump on and roll back into town at midnight or 11 o'clock, if our one responsibility is to get on the bike and ride all day, what could go wrong?
Correct. My wife and kids are going to be out of state. I mean, they're far away. I have nothing to worry about with them. I have nothing to worry about with the job. It's all riding my bike. So it should be good. Yeah,
absolutely. We've both taken vacation from work for several days to get this done. Yeah. So speaking more about the route, when we look at the route map, we've got it pulled up here on our computer screen, and we'll throw it up on screen there. When you look at this, what are you looking forward to? Maybe what are you not looking forward to? What do you know?
Well, based upon the forecast, I'm not looking forward to the first 30 miles. The first 30 miles roll out south. Those of you that have been down here in the past for Dirty Kansas, it crosses the river down there at the Verdigris, where we've had a river crossing in the past for Dirty Kansas. And then it climbs out to Texaco Hill. Right now, the forecast is showing some pretty strong winds for that first morning out of the south, and so that might be a little tough start. Other than that, when we get up to the area that this past year's Dirty Kansas went into, up in the area of Alma, Alta Vista, kind of a little bit away from there, but just north of there, that's some tough terrain, and that's day 3, maybe day 2, depending on how we're rolling.
1.5.
Probably not. So those are the two areas that I would say if there's nerves, would hit around there. I'm excited, honestly, even though the sand is out in the western part. I've never ridden really out there.
Okay.
I'm excited about seeing new things. So pretty much that whole chunk from, I would say, El Dorado to Junction City, I'm just excited as all get out to see that area and ride there.
I'm going to agree with you on that. Day one, I'm looking forward to getting out there, getting started. At this point, we've got the nerves 3 days out from this thing. I mean, you're starting to go through all your lists. You're starting to think about packing if you're me.
Yeah.
But you're going through everything you have. I am not looking forward to the 30 miles to Texaco Hill.
Yeah.
We've rode it. We've experienced. We know that area. For me, honestly, I don't have a ton of experience past Texaco Hill, especially into Cassidy. And then I've never rode from El Dorado to Newton, down in that part of the state. I believe it is a lot flatter down there in that part of the state for a little while. Maybe I could be completely wrong with all of this.
Elevation profile, if
it looks like we're going downhill the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've got to get to the top of that hill, but fair enough. I am looking forward to quote unquote what I think we're all referring to as day 2. Day 2 should be starting in Newton.
That's our plan. That's what we've been shooting for.
That's our plan on paper, but again, the weather forecast changes every 15 minutes.
And Not that I check every 15 minutes.
Well, we know that because we check it at least every 10 minutes. Yes. So the weather is ever changing. I am looking forward from Newton to the Junction City area as well. I had a chance to ride some of those roads this last fall, actually, and had a blast of a time. If weather patterns hold, and I just mean kind of the standard Kansas south wind this time of year, we might have a little bit of boost at our back.
Yes. That's almost a whole day of going from the south to the north.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you are pretty much almost at your furthest tip south that day when you start. If we start in Newton, which again is the plan, to almost the furthest point north up in Junction City, and so that'll be nice having a good day of tailwind pretty much the entire way, and that might help propel us a little bit further. Yeah. It also could be one of those things where we, kind of enjoy not having to push as hard with the wind at our back. It's one of those things. I think we have these plans that we've set ahead of time, but until you get out there and you hit the gravel, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. One thing that surprises me about this route is we have several 50, 60, almost 70-mile stretches of no support, no stores.
Yeah. First of all, the whole thing is unsupported. It's
Correct.
One of those events that nobody can come and meet us out there.
Follows the Tour Divide general principles.
But yeah, I mean, we start off right at the beginning with a 63-mile or so section all the way to Cassidy, and starting off should be no problem. We should all have what we need on us to get
the tank. The tank should be full.
But yeah, we hit a lot of those spots out there, and there's a couple areas. There's a gas station at Maple Hill. And everything else between Maple Hill and when you go through Linden is kind of off course. You have to take a mile or two off course to get to that spot. And so do you load up for almost 100 miles and get yourself 100 miles? Matt's saying no, which means we probably won't. Or do you get off course maybe in Topeka for a little bit, run in, add a few extra miles on it. Instead of 552 miles, it becomes 562 miles. Things like that are going to happen probably anyways.
Yeah, extra miles are going to be one of those things that happens, and I think we have to, as riders, be cognizant of that. Of not that you want to pass up an opportunity to get supplies, but it's maybe if we get into a town at night, paying attention to how many extra miles, because all of a sudden just running down to the gas station or that store a mile down the road is 2 miles.
And it adds up, and you get tired, and all of a sudden you're like, oh boy. And especially the slower we get, I'm sure, as we get further and further on, those miles take a lot longer to click off. And so, again, it's going to be an adventure, because that is definitely something new that I have to think about that I've never really...
Speaking of the long sections, what's kind of your setup? What's your plan on the bike?
All right, so on the bike, something that I have added on there is what we are calling bikepacking bars.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I got some aero bars thrown on there. I have never ridden with them before this past month, but I said, you know what, for doing this kind of distance, just a different way to sit on the bike would be really nice. I still don't know where my position personally would be if I'm on a mass start gravel race where there's 2,000 people, if I necessarily want them right then and there, but for something like this where we're going to likely be spread out over these miles.
30 of us spread out over 550 miles, maybe.
And so it's necessary for that too, especially if these wind conditions hold. It'd be nice for that as well. But then I got a front roll up front where I got my backpack or my sleeping bag and a change of clothes in. Got my rear Avea Negra bag that I've got the tent, rain fly, all that kind of stuff, and then another little wedge bag too, where I've got all my tools and some goodies to get me through and see how it goes. I'm excited. This is a first time really trying something like this, so I'm sure there's going to be some learning on the bike.
Yeah, fair enough.
How are you set up, Matt? What's your plans?
My plan's to get on the bike and ride on Friday morning. Very similar setup. Have a front roll that's got all of my tent, sleeping bag, and a pillow in it. It's an inflatable pillow, but still light enough. For me, it's one of those things that those little inflatable $5 pillows is so little of a weight penalty for comfort when we're talking about potentially 4 nights on the ground, maybe more.
We are going to sleep on the ground.
Yeah,
right?
We are sleeping on the ground. There's people going all sorts of different directions. Bobby Thompson, casual cyclist, he's going the hotel route. But I'll tell you, when we started talking this, you and me had serious conversations.
The original conversation that Matt and I had, yes, was absolutely.
We were like booking hotel rooms.
This time, there's a hotel in this town. There's a hotel here. Let's just go from hotel to hotel to hotel. And it's
practical on this route.
Maybe on day 2 or day 3, if we're just trashed and the idea of a mattress might sound better or a hot shower, I wouldn't say the credit card might not come out of the wallet. That's all I'm going to say.
Correct. And it's one of those things that even Bobby's taking some gear just in case they can't make it, because we're all gambling with the weather here. I mean, I think that's the big unknown.
And the other part of this, too, is the reason that we are going to camp out, we did like the adventure aspect of it. I mean, we were talking about it and said, part of an event like this, at least for us, because Matt and I have ridden probably over 1,000, maybe 1,200 miles even since 30 Kansas, if not more together.
Probably.
And so in those miles, we've had a lot of these conversations, and the idea of having the adventure, being out there and sleeping on the ground is, to us at least, what part of this event should be about. And so we just decided, you know what, we're going to dive in and go that route. But again, that's not to say that if we've had a really long day and we're wet from rain or other things that we might encounter, that a hotel wouldn't be welcome.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably a hotel in at some point. Even just, we're really looking for places that have showers anyways at night, parks, state parks, things like that. But anyways, back to the bike. Pretty much the same setup. I got some bike packing bars put on this week. Also, when I originally got them, I really just needed more space in the quote-unquote cockpit to mount gadgets. I'm running 2 GPS, well, technically 3 GPS units. My regular Lesign, a Garmin, more of a hiking one that just has kind of the breadcrumb trail, so that way we can keep on track. I'm not sure the amount of starting lines I've been to at races, covering or riding, where everybody around you is frantic because they load the GPS file there, and they don't have turn-by-turn or anything like that pop up. I don't want that for 550 miles.
Correct.
I want to know this route, and back to not putting bonus miles on, staying on course. We'll make a few wrong turns at some point, but, I want to know within 100, 200 feet down that road.
Yes, definitely don't want to get off course, especially like saying something this long. And I mean, all those things are going to help us. I'm going to have my Wahoo, and then also got a Garmin inReach as well for tracking purposes. And I don't quite have as many gadgets as you. Having said that, we both are bringing battery packs because we're going to be doing a lot of filming, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Social media and stuff like that.
And that's kind of jumping into the plan right there is, first and foremost, my plan at least, is to go out and have fun. This is a vacation. This is a vacation from work.
Yes. We both spent a week worth of vacation to be out here to do this. So.
Yes, exactly. As much as it is our backyard, with that in mind, like we said at the top of the show, we're less than 2 hours by car if we need rescued. Yes. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully we have tailwinds all the way in every direction, even though we're going on a big circle.
Absolutely.
What kind of final thoughts do you have?
I'm looking forward to the fun aspect of this. Just get out. Like I said, we've ridden a lot of miles together. We've had a lot of fun in those miles. We know that we're going to cross paths with a lot of other folks that we know both locally and folks that are coming in from out of state. Yeah. That we've met, that we're just going to have probably some fun out there too. The reality is with events like this, a lot of times you end up meeting up at the gas stations. And so I just want to make that be an enjoyable part of this event and not maybe focus so much on the, oh my goodness, we still have another 400 and how many miles to go?
Yes. I think one valid point is we've got to give a huge shout out to Matt Slater. He lives here in Emporia. He's the guy that actually put this route together, started the event. I think this is technically maybe its third year out there. So huge shout out to Matt for kind of organizing it. There is no entry fee for this race. So it's one of those, it's just good old fun on gravel. But I like one thing he says. He doesn't really so much call it a race as a multi-day drop ride. And I think that's kind of our attitude going into it. I honestly think on the first day for sure, there could be a group of 10 of us kind of somewhat within a mile or two hanging together for the day, keeping track of each other.
Yep.
Who knows multiple days? Who knows once the weekend's over? I also see a fair amount of people probably starting and going, Sunday I'm not where I need to be to go to work, or taking those days off to make it worth it. So,
well, hopefully folks have at least planned that in, but we'll see. I mean, I know you got off until, Wednesday?
I'm supposed to be at work Wednesday morning.
Supposed to be at work Wednesday.
Supposed to be at work.
Yeah. But we'll be fine. I think, like I say, it's just the biggest thing. Go out, enjoy this, have fun. Think about the fact that we get to wake up and all we have to do that day is ride our bike.
And eat.
And drink.
Yeah.
I mean, got to remember to do those things. That's going to be important.
Yeah.
But that's all we have to do. And so I'm just looking forward to the fun aspect of this.
I think it'll be an absolute thrill. In the show description on this, there's a link to Track Leaders, actually a link to the Gravel Guru webpage, where we have a page on Cannonball. This video will be linked at the top, but it has the Ride with GPS route map. If you're curious about where we're going, it's going to have a link to Track Leaders. It's going to have a link to Neil, Gravel Guru, and the Casual Cyclist Instagram pages. We'll be trying to upload content to it, but again, back to kind of the filming for me and photos is going to be secondary. Of course, we're going to take a lot of photos, but I also see if we're fighting headwinds all day, just kind of laying down in the sleeping bag and passing out that night, there will be content up at some point.
There will be, yes. Follow us on social media. Make sure you're watching the Gravel Guru page, my Minister of Gravel page on Instagram. We're going to be putting it as much as we can. Having said that, we're also going to try to not charge our phones 6 times a day.
Correct. We are conserving battery power out there. I think that's probably one of my bigger fears. It's not so much the legs, but my battery power.
But we appreciate, I'm sure, too, any encouragement during this, because there are going to be, I'm sure, as there are in any rides, even if you go out and do a 50-mile ride, there are those dark moments. And so I know that if you guys are following along, the encouragement that flows our way, or other riders that are going to be out there as well, I know it's appreciated.
So I think that's it. Make sure you give us a shout out. You see it. Make sure you give a shout out to all the riders. Shout out to all the riders coming to Emporia to start on this thing. It's going to be an awesome weekend.
Looking forward.